Have you ever really thought about what's going on inside an AI's brain? Well, we're on the edge of a massive revolution that could make AI faster, cheaper, and, believe it or not, way more understandable. It's a concept called circuit sparsity. But here's the catch. This breakthrough has a hidden dark side, a potential legal loophole that could totally redefine the value of your data and your right to get credit for it. So let's get right into it.
Here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we're going to untangle the messy mind of today's AI. Then we'll look at the incredible promise of this new sparse approach. And from there, we'll follow the trail right to a high-stakes legal battleground. We'll see how your own contribution could be pinpointed, how that very clarity creates a nasty loophole, and what the fight to prove your data's worth is really going to look like. All right, so first up, we need to understand how most of these big AI models actually think right now. The best way to picture it is to imagine their brain as this giant, unbelievably complex control panel. Okay, so check this out, because this is the key difference. On one side, you've got what we call dense AI. I want you to think of a massive, tangled ball of yarn. Every single thread is connected to every other thread. Yeah, it's incredibly powerful, but it's also total chaos. Trying to figure out which specific thread led to which result? Almost impossible. Now, on the other side is the goal, sparse AI. This is more like a clean, direct map, where only the essential roads for a specific trip are lit up. It's efficient, it's clear, and it's totally focused. And that brings us to the main idea here, circuit sparsity. So what is it? It's basically the technique of only flicking on a tiny, very specific and necessary set of wires in that giant control panel for any given task, like, say, figuring out if a picture has a cat in it. All the other billions of wires, they're just left dormant, unused. And here's the crucial point. It's all about using a precise, minimal pathway instead of just firing up the entire chaotic system every single time. So why is everyone so excited about this? Why is it such a big deal? Well, because this method isn't just some cool techie trick. It promises to make AI dramatically better for every single one of us. For you, the person actually using it, this means AI services that are way faster, way more responsive, all because they use less computing power. It also means safer AI. You see, if a model does something it's not supposed to, researchers can actually find that specific bad circuit and fix it. And maybe the biggest deal of all, it means we could finally get AI that can show its work, actually explain exactly why it made a certain decision. And this leads us to a really critical question. If we can now trace an AI's thought process all the way back to the data that built it, that has to mean the people who created that data, you, can finally get credit for your contribution, right? Well, you'd think so, but it's not nearly that simple. You see, this newfound clarity, this ability to see inside the machine, it completely changes the conversation about where an AI's knowledge actually comes from. So in the old, dense AI world, your data was basically just one tiny drop in a giant blended soup of information. Your specific contribution, completely untraceable inside that black box. But with sparsity, the AI has the potential to become a white box. Your data isn't just a random drop anymore. It can be identified as a specific key ingredient that was absolutely essential for creating a particular recipe, or, in this case, a specific AI skill.
But here comes the twist, and it's a big one. This incredible new clarity, the very thing that promises to hold AI accountable, can also be turned around and weaponized. This is where we run into the sparsity loophole. So what is this thing? Well, the sparsity loophole is a potential legal strategy, a pretty clever one, where a company could use the pinpoint accuracy of a sparse circuit to argue that most of the data used to train the AI was actually worthless. Here's how that argument would play out in 3 simple steps. First, the company isolates the exact sparse circuit that produced something valuable, like a unique piece of art or code. Second, they audit only the data that was absolutely critical in forming that one little circuit. And then, step 3, they'd deny your claim for compensation. They'd argue your data wasn't essential. It was just part of the general background noise, the scaffolding that was needed to build the model, but not part of the final, valuable architecture itself. The consequence of this is just massive. It literally creates 2 classes of data. A tiny, tiny fraction gets labeled essential data, and yeah, that's seen as valuable, but the vast majority, we're talking millions of articles, images, and conversations from people like you that gave the AI its general intelligence, is just dismissed as scaffolding data, and its value effectively 0. So how do you even begin to fight back?
This is where it becomes a high-tech cat-and-mouse game, a real battle to prove your data's worth in a system that's designed to ignore it. Okay, so your number one weapon in this fight is something called a SHA-256 hash. The easiest way to think of it is as a unique, completely unfakeable digital fingerprint for any piece of data. You can create this fingerprint for your work, your art, your writing, whatever, and then publish it with a timestamp. Now here's why that's so critical. This creates an ironclad public record that you created something at a specific time, totally outside the AI company's servers and control. But then comes the corporate counter move, and man, it is a powerful one. They could come back and say something like this. We've reviewed your timestamped hash, and yes, our systems did ingest that data. However, it was only for safety and monitoring purposes. As per your own privacy settings, you opted out of data use for training. Therefore, your claim is denied. That is a devastatingly clever defense, isn't it? It completely redefines the word ingestion. They admit they saw your data, but they deny they used it to train the model's skills. They're drawing a line between logging for safety and learning for value. So in one brilliant, kind of terrifying move, they turn the very privacy setting you chose to protect yourself into the weapon they used to deny your contribution. And this brings us to the final showdown. The fight moves out of the world of pure technology and into the courts, where the very definition of contribution in the age of AI is going to be decided. So what's the ultimate recourse? What's left in the playbook for users? Well, it really comes down to two key strategies. First, you challenge the contract itself. You argue in court that any use of data that makes the AI better, even data supposedly just for safety monitoring, is a form of development that adds value, and you should be compensated for it. And second, you use your hash to prove unique value. You show that your unique, timestamped data existed before the AI suddenly developed a new skill that's directly related to it. That creates a powerful link that they have to explain. And this leaves us with the ultimate question for the future of AI, for data rights, for everything. This technology, it's built on the collective knowledge of all of humanity, all that scaffolding provided by millions and millions of us. So if an AI learns its most valuable lessons from everything it sees, who really owns the lesson?